So I just wanted to start by thanking Corbin for taking the time to chat with us at the Christian Beat, all about Thrive Worship's upcoming EP coming out next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Absolutely. So it's all different versions of Pour Your Spirit Out. So do you want to share a little bit of what kind of versions and what the listeners can kind of expect from the EP?
Yeah, so we were thinking about this. First of all, Pour Your Spirit Out has just been such a special song for our church, for our team. It contains like my testimony in one of the versions, which is in the long and short, which is I've gone through a series of years where I had panic attacks pretty frequently, but then found healing from them, which was absolutely incredible. And so we've seen, as a result of playing that song and praying for people in services, on tour, at conferences, so much life change happen. We've seen, I promise this is real. We've literally seen blind people get their sight back. We've seen people who had chronic pain from car accidents be completely healed in an instant. We saw people where there shouldn't have been people getting salvations, but they were happening. And so I just think, as we've seen the progression and just like the ministry that's happened from this song, we all kind of felt like there should be a wider and a broader release of the story. And so our heart with the EP was not so much to get new versions out, but really to give more opportunity for people to experience the same life change that I did and the same life change that we've seen as a result of this song. And so that's the hope, and that's the purpose of it. We've got an acoustic version on there. I think is an amazing thing for churches that are maybe a little bit stripped back. They can see what it would sound like in the context of their church. But one of my favorite tracks on there is there's a lo-fi version, which I think is so fun. Like, I love lo-fi. I constantly have lo-fi playlists on. And how fun would it be if Pour Your Spirit Out lo-fi got on one of those, and all of a sudden someone's just listening to lo-fi beats and they hear a little snippet of a testimony and like, man, God can move there. And so another really great track is there's one with Ben Fuller, which is going to be so fun. I love Ben. I got to meet him when we were on Winter Jam back in February. And what an amazing guy, what an amazing story. And so to have him featuring on Pour Your Spirit Out just seems so fitting. So yeah, we're really excited. There's a lot of great stuff coming on it.
Awesome. And yeah, to your point, the different versions kind of help get different folks that maybe wouldn't have listened or had the opportunity or been interacted with the song, to have that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's honestly, that's the goal here.
That's awesome. So do you want to, you kind of alluded to it already, but do you want to share just why this song in particular is so special to yourself personally, to the group, and how it's really taken hold?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's special to a lot of us in our own way, right? Like, I've got my story and I'll jump into that in a second, but I even think about one of the guys that we wrote it with, a guy named Taylor Gall, who's an integral part of our team and worship leader at our church. And he actually brought the original chorus idea because he was going through this idea of couldn't get Lazarus off of his mind. He had gone through a season of kind of just seeking after God and going, hey, like, there's a part of my faith that I'm not seeing, and he's wrestling with it. And that part was going, I see all these miracles in the Bible, and specifically Lazarus raising from the dead stuck out to him. And he just goes, I haven't seen this in my own life. And so he went on a journey and just sought after God, and in faith was praying to see those miracles. And one by one, he started seeing them happen, which is really, really amazing. And I think that's kind of like the heartbeat of the song, is believing for something that maybe you haven't seen yet, and letting it raise your faith. And so for me, my story and why this song is so important to me. So I battled anxiety and panic attacks from the age of 7 until I turned 26. It was pretty frequent, pretty consistent. At least once a month, I would have a pretty serious panic attack. In fact, right before I turned 26, I was engaged, and I had 40 days straight of panic attacks. Thankfully, my wife and fiance at the time, she had heard a commercial on the local radio station to go to a church service. It wasn't our church actually, but it was a church nearby. And the pastor, who had also been dealing with anxiety for a long time, had written a book called How to Live in Fear. And I had read the book and it was awesome. There's a lot of stuff I'd heard. Having dealt with it for 19 years of my life, I'd learned a lot about what is going on. And so anyway, she said, "Hey, why don't we go to this event?" And if I'm being really honest, I was a little reluctant to go, only because, I felt like, man, I've heard all this stuff before. I thought I had done pretty much everything I could to mitigate or rid these panic attacks of happening, and they just kept coming. And so in my mind, this was something I was going to be dealing with for the rest of my life. Thankfully, she dragged me there. And I sat through the service, and it truthfully was. It was very practical. There's a lot of great stuff, but it was stuff I had heard before. But here's what happened. We got to the end of the night, and the pastor said, "Okay, I'm going to pray." And I have to tell you, this felt so normal. I didn't come from a charismatic background. This wasn't, something I was super used to. But the pastor said, "I'm going to pray, and some of you are going to be healed tonight, and some of you won't." And he's like, "I just want you to know that no matter what it is, God's working it out in his sovereignty for your testimony." I'm like, "What?" Okay. He starts praying, and this is pretty crazy. I've never felt anything like this before or since, but it felt like there was something pushing on me as soon as he started praying. Like it felt almost hard to stand up. I was like, no, we're not, I'm not doing that. And I felt pretty clearly like there was a presence. The Holy Spirit is what I know it to be, pushing on me. And as he finished the prayer, I just sat down in my chair and I began crying for the next 20 minutes. And immediately I knew something had shifted. And as I went and talked to the pastor afterwards, I said, "Hey, like this happened. I think something shifted tonight." And he prayed over me again. He was like, "I think God healed you tonight." So that was 6 years ago, and I have not had a single panic attack since.
That's awesome. And it's such an awesome thing to be able to share your testimony, as you mentioned, in a song like this, to again get to help spread that word. So
Yeah.
for sure. So I'm curious, with being able to perform the song live. I mean, you mentioned Winter Jam. I'm assuming this was one of the songs you guys
Yes.
had in your set list for that night. So how does this song change for you, being able to see others interact with it? Because I know you have that deep personal connection with
Yep.
it, but I'm sure there has to be some of how others interact with it that kind of impacts you as well.
Well, let me answer that by going back to when we wrote the song, because when we were in the session, it was one of those, like, you're on a songwriting retreat. There's all these, regimented songs that you're writing during the day, which are great. I'm nothing against that. This song happened outside of the normal allotted time. We were back at the Airbnb with just our team, and we were just honestly having conversation. Taylor was telling us about that Lazarus piece. He had the kind of the chorus idea, and when I joined, we wrote the bridge and the rest of the verses, and then it was like we finished the song, but it was like we knew, for some reason, we knew we weren't done. Like, we finished the song, it was done. And so we just sat there, and I remember I got really quiet, and I started feeling like there was like a prompting from the Holy Spirit to type out my testimony. And so I did, and I remember I tried to sing it, and I was like crying through it, because it was a really cool, special moment. At the time, I was like, that was awesome. That was like for that room. That was like in the moment, right? And I never would have put that testimony on the actual released version if I had my way. But we sent it to the record label. We showed it to a few more people on our team that weren't there, and everyone's response was, "We can't release this unless the testimony's on there." And so I say all of that to say, I believe that what's been it's two things. One, I believe that the vulnerability that we all had in that session is what's cultivated an environment when we play it live for people to experience the life change. The second thing is, I believe that everyone is going through a journey. Everyone has their story. And truthfully, there's not enough times in life, there's not enough times in church or in worship where we address the fact that, man, people are going through stuff. And sometimes they need like a miraculous move of God in their life. And so part of why I think we've seen the song so impactful when we play it live is the fact that we're giving people an opportunity to step right into that level playing ground and enter into the same vulnerability that I feel like I needed to share that story. And so even on the last tour we were on with Winter Jam, you just, so many people came up to the booth and shared their story and their walk through anxiety. And it's cool, you know, not everyone got healed on the tour, but it's now I have all of these logs in my brain going, I can pray for this person, this person, this person, this person. And I believe that just like when I was prayed for, there's going to be people that get healed and there's people that don't get healed, but God is working in every single situation for their testimony. So many people I know are still dealing with that, with the mental health, whatever it is, not even just mental health, but other things. They're still dealing with whatever that is, but God's using it. It's the same as Paul uses the thorn in his flesh, right? It's amazing what God can do with our story. And I think the culmination of all of that is we have a line in the chorus that says, God rewrites history. So the heart and why I think it's been so beautiful is that everyone comes in with a story and they get met with the truth that God rewrites history.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask if in when you were writing this song, if there was something that felt different for this one, like if you had that gut feeling that this is going to be something impactful, or is this, you know, or if it kind of took on a life of its own after that. I think you already touched on that a little bit, but I just always think that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think I knew it was different. We all knew it was different. We all knew something special was happening. We didn't know it would have the impact that it would have. Truthfully, we were like, "Hey, this is an awesome song." Our team was kind of me and Taylor. I remember we were talking about like, man, there's another voice of our songwriting that we just want to start expressing, and this was in that. And we knew at the time when we said it that this was not the voice that was necessarily going to be like the big commercial hit or the thing that's like the banger in church or whatever it is. Then it became that, which was so strange. And so I think, yeah, we did know something was special, but not in the sense of this was going to be an impactful song or a big song for us. But now that on the other side of that, it's almost created like a hunger for us to chase the things that God has like put on our hearts that are maybe not the most orthodox, because we've seen so much life change from it. And truthfully, the end of the day, if we're not seeing that, we're not doing the right thing. And so we've just been really thankful that what we've put out as a kind of like an offering to God, he has used, and so many people have been impacted from it.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, with the release of the EP, how else are you planning to kind of spread the word, continue the message? Are there other, you know, video components or other ways that you're planning to share the message of the song?
Yeah, I mean, I think reality is we have a live version on YouTube of Pour Your Spirit Out right now, which is honestly, it was such a special night when we recorded that one. So that one's really fun to watch. We're gonna do like a little YouTube video for that lo-fi one, but literally just have some like, you know, like lo-fi 8-bit stuff going on, which is really fun. I believe lyric videos are coming out, all of that stuff.
That's awesome. I know we're getting close to time, so I'll just close with one final item for you. Just want to give you the opportunity to kind of share a message or a prayer for all of those that may come in contact with the EP or the song.
Yeah, I mean, I think, gosh, so many things I would say, but yeah, there's a scripture. There's two scriptures that this song's based around. The first one is Acts chapter 2, verse 17, which is that God will pour out his spirit on the whole world in the last days. And it says that young men will dream dreams and old men will see visions. And I believe that God is doing something really special in the world right now. We've all come through a crazy season, but I think it's created such a hunger for the truth and such a hunger for the real, authentic faith. And so I believe God is revealing things that he's never revealed before. I believe that in your life right now, whoever is listening to this, that he's probably wanting to do something amazing. He wants to reveal something to you. He wants to give you the dreams of your heart, the desires of your heart. I think about Joshua chapter 4, when the Israelites are finally crossing over into the promised land. And Joshua looks back and says, grab 12 stones from the riverbed and place them on the other side as an altar. And the reason why he says that is he goes, I want generation after generation after generation to remember that God is faithful to his people. And so that's my encouragement to anybody who's listening to this is God is not done writing your story. In fact, he probably wants to rewrite some of your story, which is an absolute amazing thing. He is faithful to finish the work that he started in you. And I believe that if you listen to this song, if you listen to the EP, you're going to experience the living presence of God. And that's my highest prayer, is that it draws you closer to him and you find a beautiful communion with him.
That's awesome. I just want to thank you again, Corbin, for taking the time to chat with us on behalf of yourself and Thrive Worship, just talking through the upcoming music.
Yeah, thanks for having me.